From the great state of Texas, you are now listening to Skip the Noise Podcast, a Rounded Edge media production. Thank you so much for joining us. And by us, I'm actually only referring to myself, Benji. Brown Python and Mexican Nostradamus will not be here. This is just a Benji solo mission on the live side of things. As a bonus, we will be doing a regular show as planned later this week. But I just thought I'd give you guys a little extra. We did miss a week a few weeks back, and so tonight on the program I've got planned, hey, we've got somebody already joining the chat, Mr. Eric. How are you, Eric? But yeah, the agenda for tonight, unless Eric plans on derailing it, which is okay too, that's part of the fun in these live shows, but I was going to react to a couple of current news stories, but maybe tell a story or two, but that all depends on you guys. If you want to chat, add your own version of the news in your world, or react to the stuff that's going on in the news, that's fine by me. Or if you really want to get frisky, you can call in. Eric, where are you from? What part of are you in the United States? I'll try to tread water a little bit as Eric responds. One of the things I wanted to cover was in California. They posted a billboard recently, and I am, if you're a new listener to the show, I am in the great state of Texas. Okay, you're in Georgia, close to Atlanta. Well done, sir. So yeah, I was going to bring up the amount. Here in Texas, we've had quite a few Californians relocate in recent years. And there's a billboard recently. Let me actually pull up the article. We'll get started on that. If I can scroll to it here. I don't know, kind of in bad taste, maybe. So these billboards in California, this is coming from ABC 13, local news source right here in the wonderful city of Houston, in which I reside. Let's see. Don't move to Texas. Billboards in California invoke Uvalde massacre. This is San Francisco. So this is San Francisco. A controversial billboard has popped up in San Francisco and Los Angeles, discouraging Californians from moving to Texas. The message behind the billboard is adding to the already existing rift between the two states. Yes, that is a real thing, and I'll kind of comment in between. Eric, feel free, sir, if you've got any comments on this. I know you're in Georgia, so you're not in the fight, so to speak. I do have plenty of California listeners. Hopefully they got my story on the Instagram, urging everybody to join me live this evening. But the message is intended to be dark. The Texas miracle died in Uvalde. It's a little brutal. I don't know if I get it. California's trying to save what they've got left. But the fact of the matter is, it does seem like a better option. And now here in Texas, the opinion is that, hey, keep all your lifestyles and all your opinions and viewpoints in California. But okay, moving on. The billboard shows a man in a hoodie and also comes with a warning to anyone who stops to look: don't move to Texas. I don't think it's a particularly good taste. An onlooker said. Okay, that's coming from a California, or he's an onlooker. I don't know. Billboard is meant to highlight the lax gun laws in Texas following one of the deadliest school shootings in Uvalde on May 24th, where 19 students and 2 teachers were killed. That is a real issue. Obviously, we've got some issues with gun violence here in Texas. Laws are pretty permissible. If you're not familiar with that, you can pretty much just open carry as you wish. Gun laws are very permissible, and they recently already were. It's notoriously a pretty pro-gun state, but in recent years they ramped up the permissiveness quite a bit. Pretty much anybody can just walk through a store wielding a gun. In Georgia, Eric, do you have any thoughts on this? Gun control. I'm sure being in the South, Georgia's got a pretty strong gun culture as well. None I can think of. Well, that's okay. Let me continue on with this article. So Uvalde, obviously that's a soft spot, okay, a tragedy. There's all kinds of stuff around that. I won't get into that now, but it is known, or it's not known, who's behind the billboard. I feel like you could probably figure that out pretty easy. But it's capturing the attention of many who go by the intersection in San Francisco's Soma neighborhood. Not real familiar with San Francisco. I don't know what that is. I totally agree with it 100%. So many people are leaving here and going to Texas anyway. It's like, don't go there. Wow, that sounds fucking super intelligent. Luke Gray, a Californian, said, great take, Luke. But are people from California really leaving to move to Texas? Yes, they are. There's a lot. We see a lot here. The U.S. Census reports that, on average, 68,700 Californians moved to Texas each year over the past decade. It's quite a bit. Other data sources now show the trend accelerated slightly during the pandemic. Yeah, mostly because of the. It just seems from my viewpoint here in Texas that California, and I think most people, the consensus is that shit is kind of getting out of hand. And I just heard, I think Ozzy Osbourne, did he not move to, or he's planning on moving out of the United States? So they're talking about gun violence there, but apparently he thinks it's a little. Appreciate the like, Eric, 2003. Eric, do you have a show of your own, or are you just a listener? If you do, drop the name and I will relay that to all the listeners of this live version of Skip the Noise. If you don't know, Skip the Noise is a weekly podcast we record with myself. My name is Benji, and I have two other co-hosts, Mexican Nostradamus and the Brown Python, Rick. But every now and again, I do these little live ventures by my dolo. I think it's discouraging. We have to move on, and we have to move on positively, one detractor said. And that's the end of the article? Okay, this is shit reporting. Leanne Melendez from ABC 13's sister station, KGO, reports from San Francisco. Okay, that's... You know what? I wonder if this is... I don't know if this is like an article or this is just a verbal transcript of like the news story. I don't know. That just seems a little juvenile. I co-host this. I've heard of it. I got to be totally honest. I haven't been on Podbean a whole lot lately. But I'm familiar with the Slightly Serious Show weeknights. Here we go. Let me just read your whole deal. So Eric co-hosts the Slightly Serious Show weeknights, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. That's important. 8:30 p.m. Central, and the Old Man's Podcast Show weekdays, 10 a.m. Eastern. And yes, I'm familiar with both of those. I may have even joined in once or twice. It's probably been a while, but so yeah, welcome, Eric. I appreciate you jumping on. Plus, I contribute to additional podcast shows here on the Podbean. That's good. So you're definitely a seasoned podcaster, and I'm sure I've heard you talk before and just didn't know it. So nice to meet you, sir. Let's get into this other, I guess, some more California shit. The Bean. Okay, so he contributes. Eric here contributes to the Beans and Weenie Show, the John DeVito Show, It's Doomsday Podcast, and TalkNet Live. All great shows. You should all check out on the Podbean. I'm trying to get more people, more of my listeners, to get on the Podbean. It's upticked lately. Most of our listenership comes from Apple, Spotify, but because we've had Podbean as a host for the 2-year life of the program, I want to bring some more people over here to the Podbean, show them a little bit of love, and also participate, chat, call in. I think these shows are kind of fun, kind of a break from the norm. This would be, and I'm going to release this as a regular episode of Skip the Noise, or more of a bonus episode, but this will be episode 115. But look at this guy. He's got another one, too. The Dina Joe, Ralph Williams, The Gray Area, Dude Man, Big Daddy Al. Good deal. So everybody who's listening right now, make sure you get on Podbean. It's got all kinds of entertaining shows for you to check out. But Podbean, I will say this, Podbean is a pretty cool app. You can just get it on your phone, and you can just jump into any show that's live. You can chat away, or you can call in if the host decides to take your call, that is, and you can contribute. So, speaking of California, I'm going to move on to this next article here. I haven't read this, so that's the whole fun of these. I don't, my lifestyle is, when I say busy, I don't think people fucking understand. I've mentioned this ad nauseum on the podcast, so I have, I've got a lot of kids, I've got a lot of jobs, I do a lot of shit, like, nonstop. So anyway, I did not pre-read these articles, okay? I barely have time to keep up with the news, even though my two co-hosts kind of basically are the research end of the show. I myself am more of on the promotion end. I'm the social media presence. I'm the Jimmy Hart, right? I'm the if you remember wrestling. But anyway, here we go. This is from ABC7. I don't know. I guess that's a local. And this is written by Carlos Granda. Carlos, let's see what you got. This is from August 5th. LA City Council votes to place proposal that would give empty hotel rooms to homeless on 2024 ballot. I think they did that in Austin. And Austin has been celebrated for its response to the homeless there. Austin is the capital of Texas, okay? It's the home of the University of Texas at Austin. It is known as kind of the liberal heart of the state of Texas. And I'm not making any kind of judgments or whatever, but it had a very significant homeless problem for a very long time. And you couldn't even walk down the streets you could feel the homeless problem right up in your face if you travel to Austin. It's a lot better now because they did something similar to what Los Angeles apparently is proposing. I appreciate you liking the show. Outside of Normal is another good show as well. So we're just going to keep cranking these, dropping these names. So hopefully the listeners, if not the live listeners, but when we record and release this, hopefully you guys can go back and check out these shows that are on Podbean. Let's see. Oh, these are shows that Eric is hoping may return soon. Trice Talk, Tall Tales in the Rabbit Hole, Lyrical Laxatives, great name, and hopefully Chuck and Billy's Not Your Cup of Tea. I remember them too. The Frankie D Show is another good show. Yeah, so in passing, I was at one point more active in sort of the podcast or the Podbean community. I haven't been lately, so it's fun to hear all these names. So I might have to get more involved. Back to the article here. I don't even know if I started it. Let's start it now. The Los Angeles City Council on Friday voted unanimously to place an ordinance that would house homeless people in hotels alongside guests. Okay, well, that's a little bit of I don't think that's quite what they did in Austin. In Austin, I think what they did is they designated certain hotels as essentially homeless shelters. So let's hear this out, this proposal in Los Angeles. And just, anecdotally, dude, Los Angeles seems like it is completely upside down in a fucking shit show. I don't know. If somebody gets in the show from LA, Gil from the Mind Buzz podcast, I don't know if you caught that story, dude. Download Podbean, get on here and give us your LA opinion, dude. I'll shout out some Houston podcaster, Inside the Northside podcast, Ulysses Ramos, recently traveled to LA. And fellow podcasters over there expected him to wear a cowboy hat, come in on horseback, and all that good shit. And I'm going to get to some good old Texas shit later on. I got an incident, kind of a World Star-esque video that surfaced recently at an airport. Spirit Airlines was involved. Whoa, lo and behold. Spirit's always producing the good shit. So moving on. Los Angeles City Council on Friday voted unanimously to place an ordinance that would house homeless people in hotels alongside guests on the March 2024 ballot rather than adopt it immediately. Okay, so this will be up for vote at a later date, I guess. Okay. Under the initiative, hotels in LA would be required to notify the city every day by 2 p.m. how many empty rooms they have for the night. And yes, I agree, Eric. I hope podcasting does continue to grow. To take a break here, yes. So we did start during the pandemic. it wasn't necessarily that we started because of the pandemic. It was one of those things we had talked about the podcast, starting it for quite a while, and then the pandemic came, and it was like, hey, if we're not going to do the fucking shit now, it's never going to happen. So that was kind of more the catalyst rather than the, so, but yeah, podcasting is really the only thing I will say about podcasting, and it's kind of like music in that it's almost so crowded with creators that it's tough. It's kind of tough to separate and to discern what are good, especially on the independent side. Yeah, you get the big mainstream podcasts that are kind of pumped into your face, that are very professional, and hey, those are great. But I think what's great about podcasting is the independent nature of it, to where you can actually hear some real shit. For example, Skip the Noise podcast. We don't take any sponsorship money, at least until this point. Not that we're closed off to it. Speaking of money, you can go, if you download the Good Pods app, follow Skip the Noise there. You can actually leave us a tip. So if you really like the show, and if you're so inclined, I encourage you to do that. But yes, podcasting has grown quite a bit. But like I said, the only pushback I have is that it is a little oversaturated, possibly. But that's okay. The cream will rise to the top, and the ones who are determined, that's a big part of our game plan, is consistency. And you have a fellow, this is Eric talking here. He says that you have a few fellow Texans on Podbean. Laura from the Communication Station podcast. Okay, good to know. J-Lo and Captain Jimmy, who live near San Antonio. Big up. I like San Antonio. It's fun to visit. I remember Jimmy from The Den of the Unknown Days. Is it Nada or Nida? And Merrimack. Live near Houston. Big up. That's where I'm from, is Houston. I live a little bit outside Houston now. A little place called Cypress. Reverend Paul from Rapture Prep podcast. He's a big contributor to Jesters, It's Doomsday podcast, and Big Daddy Out podcast. So big up all the Texas creators. Nida. Okay. Thanks for the pronunciation assistance, Mr. Eric. Let's get back to this here. Let's see. So under this ordinance, all the hotels in LA would have to notify the city by 2 p.m. how many empty rooms they have. And thus, so local and national hotel tourism leaders say the measure could endanger the safety of hotel workers and guests. Yes, I think that's probably a legitimate concern. What do you think, Eric? What do you think, buddy? The ordinance will require a majority vote to pass. If it becomes law, the city's housing department would pay hotels a fair market rate to lodge each person after identifying hotels with vacant rooms. Not sure. Eric's a little undecided. Come on, Eric. I'm going to push you a little bit. I think you have an opinion on this. Maybe you just don't want to say it. But that's okay too. It would require hotels to report the number of vacant rooms to the city and prohibit them from refusing lodging to housed people seeking housing through the program. Okay. Man, I think this is going to make people not want to fucking visit LA, dude. I don't know. That's just my opinion. If they're going to make all these billboards and, we do have a lot of gun violence here in the great state of Texas, particularly in the majestic city of Houston. A lot of gun violence. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm also not going to say that the permissiveness of our gun laws doesn't lead to a little bit of that. Maybe. There's other factors, right? There's all kinds of factors when you talk about gun violence. But I don't know. I don't know if you can really talk shit, California. You got a lot of problems too. Okay. So in order for hotel development projects of 100 or more rooms to receive a permit, the city's planning commission or council would have to consider the project's impact on affordable housing, transit, social services, employees, and local businesses, according to the proposed ordinance. That would include whether the proposed hotel would unduly burden the demand for affordable housing and social services in Los Angeles. Okay, we're wrapping up here, I think, right about now. Hotel developments of 15 or more rooms that demolish or convert housing for the project would have to replace it with the same amount of affordable housing near the site, according to the proposed ordinance. I don't know. It definitely doesn't make me excited about staying in a hotel in Los Angeles. You know what I mean? So Scooter and Spanky from the Beans and Weenie Show live in Oklahoma, close to Tulsa. Texas is neighbor to the north. Okay, I mean it's gotcha. And other neighboring states, Big Daddy's in Arkansas. Crazy Cans are in Louisiana. Yeah, Louisiana's our neighbor for sure. Old Man's sister, Big Penny. So Old Man's got the whole family involved. It's good shit. Good shit, Eric. Let's talk a little Hunter Biden, I think. Let's move on. And we'll maybe wrap up. He's got family in Arizona too. Okay, well. I don't know if that's close, but it's all good. Texas is a whole country, kind of. It's different. It's not culturally. It's just a little bit different thing. That's why there's a lot of pushback on all these people coming here from other states. Not to me. I'm welcoming with my open arms. I think it's great. I've got opinions, but I think it's great. Yeah, and I'm gonna air out the brown python a little bit. He was a little concerned about visiting LA on a recent trip. So I'm sure we'll hear Brown Python's opinions on this if you listen to the next episode of Skip the Noise, which will come out later this week. So let's talk a little FBI and let's talk a little Hunter Biden. Little Hunter Biden laptops and what might be on them things, man. The FBI agent accused of, I'm just going to read this one in a little accent, okay? FBI agent accused of political bias suppressing Hunter Biden laptop leaves the bureau. Boom, Eric, I appreciate all these likes, buddy. You got to tell all your podcast buddies about old Skip to Noise podcast down here in the great state of Texas. Well, an FBI agent who is accused of bias in handling the investigation into Hunter Biden's laptop has resigned. FBI Assistant Special Agent in Charge Timothy Thibault is no longer with the Bureau, Fox News has learned. Thibault retired over the weekend, according to the source familiar with the matter. He has walked out of the building on Friday, which is standard procedure per the source. I do have Twitter. Thank you for following me on Instagram, Eric. I'll follow you back once I get jumped on that old page. It's Skip the Noise PO1 is our Twitter handle. I'm not real active on Twitter. I need to be. Like I said, Eric, I just got so many damn things going on. Brown Python and Mexican Nostradamus. It would be nice, gentlemen, to give a little social media support. I like to take little jabs at them when I can. So moving on. Okay. Thibault's name has been in the news for his alleged bias and allegations he tried to run interference in the Hunter Biden investigation. So the story here is that the actual FBI is now kind of caving to political pressures and then, interfering in investigations. And, this is obviously a corruption concern. Thibault was named Senate Judiciary Ranking Member Chuck Grassley in a July 18 letter to FBI Director Chris Wray and Attorney General Merrick Garland. Grassley cited whistleblowers who alleged a pattern of political bias from high-ranking officials, according to Thibault. According to Grassley, the whistleblower said that the Department of Justice, or the DOJ, and the FBI employees must follow strict, substantial, factual prediction guidelines to open an investigation that Thibault did not follow these guidelines. Why didn't you follow the fucking guidelines, Thibault? As you are aware, Assistant Special Agent in Charge Tim Thibault is not the only politically biased FBI agent at the Washington field office. No shit. FBI's having a lot of fucking problems lately. kind of framing entrapment scenarios and the like. But yeah, follow us on Twitter too, Eric. I'll follow you back, brother. I'll follow all your homeboys if I haven't already with all these podcasts you mentioned. Share it around, man. Maybe I'll jump back in the old Podbean community. Get a little active, get on some of these other shows, man. Call in myself. Spit a little knowledge to all these people in the United States of America and Nigeria and Canada and Italy and France. Which all of a sudden I got, we're vast majority of our listenership is Texas, New York, California, a little Florida, and a couple states scattered here and there. But we recently just had an uptick in international listenership, which is kind of interesting. I'm not sure what gives, what I did to make that happen, because I guarantee it wasn't the social media, because I haven't been real active on that, all them old things. Yeah, hey, so we discussed the same article. Good deal. What are your thoughts, man? What'd y'all talk about? As I read the next paragraph, start typing away. Put a little something. Put a little Eric 2003 input on this here. So T-Bot was one of 13 assistant special agents in charge at the Washington field office. He was not involved in the FBI raid on former President Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate earlier this month at any level. I'm sure anybody listening has heard about that deal where they raided Trump's Florida residence looking for all kinds of documentation on all kinds of shit. The FBI told Fox News it does not comment on personal matters. It does a lot of other things. Grassley's office did not respond to Fox News' request for comment before publication. FBI also being politicized as an entity. Yeah, that's kind of the problem. And that's, why isn't this is from Eric on the chat. Why isn't Hunter Biden and Hillary Clinton being investigated is what I'd like to know. No, it's correct. It's come lately that there's obviously some bias here, and there's obviously some influence, and a lot of things being held based on the election cycle. Yeah, without going on a complete tirade like I want to do, or just a kind of pessimistic adventure into the plight of our American culture, I'm going to resist. And so with the Clintons, Hunter Biden, no bueno, man. I got another article in this realm, and then I'll kind of move on to the next soul thing. This article, wait, is this one of these okay, no, I'm sorry. This is from TND, the National Desk. Brown Python added this to the text thread, the infamous text thread that is kind of the lifeblood of the Skip the Noise podcast. Let me get to the chat here. So Eric says, I too don't believe 2020 was on the up and up either, considering there being too many unanswered questions, allegation of voter fraud and irregularities, and suppression and ballot harvesting. Okay, so let's open that up a little bit. Yeah, 2020, if anybody who's listened to a lot of Skip the Noise podcast knows that the three of us are very, very open to discussion of what really went on there, the confusion. It led to an overall mistrust of almost all government agencies. Not that there wasn't already, but this sprayed lighter fluid on an already burning fire. This is back to the chat. People coming forward with what happens appears to be credible allegations. Pardon my misspeaking. Let's get to this article from the National Desk. Paradigm Shift has entered the live studio. Thank you for joining us, Paradigm Shift. How the hell are you? Feel free to chat. We'll try to catch you up to speed as quickly as we can. Right now I'm reading an article from the National Desk. FBI whistleblower. Agents told not to look at Hunter Biden laptop until after election. Ooh, see, it's just what we're talking about, Eric. Political motivations in the FBI. Okay, Washington. There is a new round of questions from GOP lawmakers after whistleblowers from inside the Federal Bureau of Investigation now say the agency waited nearly a year before examining the contents of laptop purportedly belonging to then candidate Joe Biden's son, Hunter. That whistleblower allegedly came to the office of Senator Ron Johnson, Republican from Wisconsin, laying out the accusations. In the interview Monday, Johnson told Sinclair that it shows the FBI has become weaponized. That's what Eric was just saying. Let's get back to Eric. Of illegal and improper activity. Oh, hold on. Let me finish the sentence. Yeah, people coming forward with credible allegations of illegal and improper activities that were alleged to have taken place. Laptop story being suppressed. Yeah, man. Obviously, right? These new allegations provide even more evidence of FBI corruption and renew calls for you to take immediate steps to investigate the FBI's actions regarding the laptop, Johnson argued in a letter sent to Justice Department's Inspector General Michael Horowitz. Because they take out Horowitz. Hurricane got clout. Oh, the DJs, they put your head out. Puppet on the string. Paid to sing a rhyme to the bit in lava land. Oh, yeah. I'm old. He's asking Horowitz to look into accusations that the people that get that will be really hyped right now, but I feel like maybe one person in the audience. He is asking Horowitz to look into accusations that FBI leadership told employees, you will not look at that Hunter Biden laptop. You will not look at that Hunter Biden laptop, son of a bitch. Adding, the FBI is not going to change the outcome of the election again. God damn it. On his social media platform, Truth Social. Fuck my life. Former President Donald Trump called it fraud and election interference, even suggesting the information makes the 2020 election compromised, calling for a new one. All right, let's not get crazy. Some of the concerns were raised after Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg told Joe Rogan on his podcast last week that he was approached by the FBI in 2020. Oh, check this out. So, yeah, okay, so Eric brings up people alleged to have engaged in Ukraine corruption and money laundering. Yeah, there's a lot of shit involved. Let me read Zuckerberg's little statement, then I'll kind of circle back on that. The FBI, I think, basically came to us. This is Zuckerberg talking now. Lizard man. Lizard boy. The FBI, I think, basically, I was about to give him a fucking accent. Fucking, we're dishing them out. You come to Texas, man, we go home, go back to fucking California and sleep in hotel rooms, bunch of homeless people, man, and start talking like us. Carry a fucking gun, too. That's what's going to happen if you try to go back to your home state with all these silly little billboards trying to put us down, man. Okay. The FBI, I think, basically came to us, some folks on our team, the Facebook team, and was like, hey, just so you know, like, we thought that there was a lot of Russian propaganda in the 2016 election. We have it on notice that basically there's about to be some kind of dump of that similar to that. Just be vigilant. Okay, that's what Zuckerberg says. Zuckerberg said those warnings led to the social media site significantly limiting the sharing on articles on Hunter Biden's laptop for about a week, dude. I'm saying that's how this whole fucking shit works. That's why independent podcasts are so crucial for your fucking brain. Listen to that other bullshit. You don't know what you're getting, dude. You don't know if you're getting, it's like smoking cigarettes. You don't know what kind of carcinogens they're throwing up in there. You don't know what kind of carcinogens I'm throwing out there either, but at least it's coming from a pure source, right? Like American spirits. Weren't those supposed to, remember all your friends that kind of had like a little new age, not new age, but, you know, they were more earthy, right? And they would smoke the American spirits because it didn't have any chemicals, bro. Don't be putting all those fucking rat poison in my fucking cigarettes that I won't smoke. It's better for you, man. It's healthy. Eric's still going here. Let me just catch up. Let's see here. Eric says, if you had GOP voters in battleground states to stay home and not participate in the last election, I believe it was very foolish of them to not exercise their civic duty to vote. Okay. We're taught if you don't vote, you can't complain. My grandma always told me that. I voted in every presidential election I've been eligible for. I can't say that I've voted in like every single, midterm and all kinds of bullshit. But I definitely, I at least vote every 4 years. But I don't only vote every 4 years. I'm just saying that I've never missed a presidential election, and I regularly vote off cycle and municipal county shit I vote on. Like you said, Eric, if you don't vote, you can't complain. But it's even bigger than that. To me, it's a civic duty. If you don't exercise that right, if you're not talking about these things, I mean, there's a reason, right, where most HR departments ban political conversations from the workplace. You know what I mean? We need to talk about this shit. We need to stop getting so fucking butthurt about it so we can actually have a conversation and actually rationalize through problems and maybe, I don't know, maybe solve them or at least attempt to solve them. What a fucking concept. We can't afford it. What do you say? I do good to vote in presidential and midterm cycles. Yeah, good for you, Eric. I appreciate your patriotism and commitment to democracy. Wayne Fitzgerald has entered the live studio. Welcome, Eric. Welcome, Eric. Welcome, Wayne. Sorry, getting a little loose. Last paragraph here on this article. In the statement to Sinclair, the FBI said, the FBI routinely notifies the U.S. private sector entities, including social media providers, of potential threat information so they can decide how to better defend against threats. The FBI has provided companies with foreign threat indicators to help them protect their platforms and customers from abuse by foreign malign influence actors. The FBI will continue to work closely with federal, state, local, and private sector partners to keep the public informed of potential threats, but the FBI cannot ask or direct companies to take action on information received. But I'm sure they do, like Facebook. Biggest concern, worry being voter apathy and complacency. Yes, that's correct. So why do you think it's such a fucking major emphasis on controlling the way these fucking people think? More so than ever, they have control over your fucking mind. There's a lot of ways to do it, and they have a lot of information to do it with. They have way more information on every single person and every single brain that exists, what your thought patterns are, what your reactions are to certain stimuli. They've got all that. They've got all that filed away in neat little compartments, and they can use that and run that data and make all kinds of decisions based on that, on how to best change your mind for whatever purpose they so see fit. And they'll do it, and they'll continue to do it. And another thing, we talked on a recent Skip the Noise podcast, I believe it was just myself and Mexican Nostradamus, about the college loan forgiveness, right? And that kind of brought up a further conversation on how crazy it is that the price of, while wages have not, in other words, the percentage of the increased cost for a college education has vastly outpaced the wage increases, right? The emphasis also on going to college and have that being sort of a cultural must do to achieve any sort of success in this country is kind of a problem, especially when you pay. It's just making people debt slaves, indentured servants, if you take it even a step further. You know what I mean? So let me get to Eric's. And Eric, you know what? I really appreciate you jumping in. This was the idea. I've done a few of these live shows where I didn't get a lot of participation. I mean, obviously, I don't have any kind of problem running my mouth solo, but it is nice to have another brain activity involved in the conversation. So, reason for podcast growing in pop. This is from Eric. Reason for podcasts growing in popularity is people are tuning out corporate media that has been given a license to lie and deceive the masses for so long. For sure, bro. Like cable fucking news is atrocious. I don't even know how bad it is until I get little snippets from other sort of media that I consume along the way. Because I'll be honest with you, Eric, we cut the cable. Fuck, it's been years now. The only thing holding me on for I would have even done it sooner than I did. Live sports kind of kept me a little bit attached to it. But I'll be honest, I grew up a sports fan. I played all the basic sports. I fucking played. I was a fan. I used to go to games. Loved it all. Football, baseball, basketball, fuck, even soccer. But at this point, I don't give a fuck. I don't even know. Like, I went and got my haircut, and they had some clips. They had some fucking Sports Center and shit on. I don't know who the fucking. I know like a handful of fucking names of players from like each specific sport. That's it, man. I don't know what the fuck is going on. I don't even know what teams are good. I don't know. I couldn't tell you right now who fucking played in the NBA Finals. I honestly couldn't. If you gave me a hint, maybe I could get it because I'm sure I came across it somewhere. That's unheard of because when I grew up, I could tell you the starting five on both fucking team or every fucking playoff team. I could tell you the starting fucking five. Not anymore. Those days are gone. Let me catch up to Eric's interaction here. They don't want society capable of critical thinking. That's official. I think we've established that. Just look at the public education system. They want obedient workers. Yes, that's true. You know, it's sad, though. They want obedient workers, but they want obedient workers that are in fucking debt. That's what I'm coming, the more specific angle that I'm starting to, it's really hitting home to me, is the fucking war, the individual war you have to wage on the financial system and how geared towards making you a fucking slave. So I encourage, as any citizen of our fucking country, take it upon yourself to invest some time in how the financial system works, what you can do, you know, whether it be your investments, your banking, your assets, protecting your assets, the refinancing thing. Like, really look at the bottom line and look at your household as a fucking business and really scrutinize those numbers. Because if you do not, if you just kind of play along like, yeah, I think it'll be okay, they got my best interest in mind, right? Wrong. They want you to fucking be broke and they want you to owe a shitload of money. That's what keeps everybody getting paid. So let me catch up to Eric's comments here. ESPN is trash, if you ask me. It probably is. I'll be honest, I haven't watched fucking ESPN and I can't remember when. But yeah, I haven't. What little clips I catch here and there just out in public, I'm not impressed. I used to fucking watch SportsCenter. It used to be my life, dude. When I was like growing up, middle school, high school, I never missed a day of SportsCenter. Like, oh fuck, I got to get home. Like, it's gonna be on. I used to listen to Jim Rome, The Jungle. Not only did I know all the fucking players in every fucking league on every team, I knew like the backstories and all the shit. I knew who gave good interviews. I knew that was my life. CNN went to shit courtesy of Jeff Zucker. This is the same Jeff Zucker who turned NBC to shit when he was in charge at NBC. Even the legendary Brandon Tartikoff wouldn't recognize NBC. Yeah, NBC, they all suck, dude. Fox News isn't really, no, it's not even close to the greatest, bro. Tucker Carlson, Sean Hannity, Jesse Walters. I mean, occasionally, like, they'll put out some good shit. But fucking Fox News is crazy, dude. Or CNN on the flip side too. But they're dying, bro. They're fucking dying. It's a dinosaur. So what do you think the future looks like, Eric, for people consuming their news? I got to be honest, as a father of 4 fucking kids, this is a real thing. I'm very deliberate on, obviously, because I have enough interest in the subject matter to do a weekly fucking show. In 2 years, we've only missed 2 weeks, and both times I fucking made it up to you guys by putting a bonus show out the following week, or at least the following week. So we're online as far as episode numbers with however many weeks we've been in existence, and that's what this is. This is to fill in that gap, to make it up to you guys. Streaming apps and podcasts seem to be where it's at. Yeah, it's true. What I've noticed too, though, boy, this is where I kind of want to get your opinion. So TikTok, okay? TikTok seems to be by far the most influential individual piece of media. Call it an app, call it whatever you want. It seems to be the most influential. It's a little scary because how rapid and how acceleratory its nature is. You can get down a rabbit hole real quick. It's fun. I'm not knocking it. It's fucking entertaining. I'll kill a few minutes with some TikTok, but gotta warn you, a few minutes of TikTok can turn into a few fucking hours of TikTok real quick. It's that good at poking into what your likes and dislikes. It's basically mastered the art of holding your attention. And that's kind of dangerous. Oh, not to mention it's a Chinese company. So there's that too. Libs of TikTok on Twitter. Hold on. Eric's getting after right here. So we may not have download audience members of Megyn Kelly, Joe Rogan, Ben Shapiro. Libs of TikTok on Twitter. The liberal snowflakes and Karens can't stand libs of TikTok. I'm not familiar, honestly, with libs of TikTok. And they're on Twitter, too. So they're cross-platforming, as it were. Fill me in. Libs of TikTok. I can look it up here in a minute, but I'm just kind of curious. What's their whole deal? Are they over the top? Are they like crying about animal rights? I mean, what's the... Oops. It exposes libs. Oh, gotcha. I have seen that. And it's very entertaining. And there's definitely something very... And now, okay, so just to give a little background of our show, assuming that you've never heard it before, skip the noise. We, obviously we comment on, news, politics, social issues. Mexican Nostradamus self-categorizes as a liberal. Although if you listen to the show a lot, sometimes things kind of go back and forth. We're all human beings too. But for general purposes, Mexican Nostradamus is the liberal. Rick, aka the Brown Python, is the conservative. I myself have kind of float between the ether of all things. You really never know where I'm coming from. But Libs of TikTok is hilarious. I have seen it where they see somebody in public who's freaking out over some fucking bullshit. I wish I had a good example for you. Speaking of some bullshit, Eric, and I'm actually going to play some audio from this masterpiece of fucking... Let's check this out. So skip the noise. We really like to get after it on... Let me see what I got here. If I can get some audio. Video. What? It's gone. No, hold on. Oh, maybe not. Okay, so I'm going to play the clip. So what you're watching is a female customer, and I guess a Spirit Airlines employee, male, big male. So the female pushed him. Oh, it's on now. He tackled her. He chased her down and tackled her. And now, just threw a punch. He hit her from behind. She was running away and he hit her. Yeah, now some male entities are trying to calm this dude down. He don't give a fuck. He's fighting whoever. Man or female. Yeah, that was some bullshit. So that was the Spirit Airlines debacle. Eric, have you ever flown on Spirit Airlines? I'll let you answer that while I read your last comment. On a serious note, sorry, after I just went into that shit. On a serious note, former Soviet President Mikhail Gorbachev passed at the... Oh, hey, shit. Sorry to hear that. Rest in peace, Mikhail Gorbachev. 91 years old. If people remember Ronald Reagan saying, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall, yeah. So, yeah, Gorbachev, rest in peace. He was the guy, the leader from the Soviet Union that transitioned out of the Cold War, and look where we are now. So his death is kind of looked at probably as fondly. He was, I guess, relatively friendly to the U.S. and ultimately led to, but Russia's had its issues, and it's kind of a whole new scenario now. We're back to where we started, if not worse. Russia still has Putin. Yes, it does. Putin is still alive and kicking, although his health is always brought up as quite a question mark, right? There's speculation on his cancer status, things of that nature. So that's kind of interesting. But so Eric says that no, he has never flown on Spirit, nor have I. Only on Delta. Only on Delta? Like you only in your whole life has only flown on Delta? I'll be honest, it's been years since I've even boarded an aeroplane. It has been a long time. Most of my travels in recent years have been in the car. Louisiana a lot. Florida a couple times. Mississippi a few times. I don't make it much out of the South, at least for a very long time. Delta, yes, not really a frequent flyer, and don't do very much out-of-state travel either. Yeah, it's not a good thing. It's really since I had kids, it's kind of slowed down quite a bit. Responsibilities got a little bit heavier, a little less freedom of doing whatever you want at any time. So yeah, I haven't traveled as much as I did when I was a little bit younger. Been to some places, been to some countries. Not a whole lot. Not a world traveled veteran, but I have been to China. I've talked about that on the show. Scroll back through the episodes. You can hear some of my entertaining stories on being a teenager in China. You can hear some daredevil stunts I performed while in China. Also some of my exhibiting my basketball prowess, bringing basketball to China back in the 90s. I credit myself with that individually. Let's see. Let's go back. Let's scroll back through. I know. I apologize if this is kind of cumbersome. I just want to keep the ball rolling so the chats move along a little bit slower than I can talk. Obviously, if you listen to Skip the Noise podcast, you know that. But I definitely want to get everything Eric is putting out here documented on the show. Eric has never lived outside of the United States. Granted, I don't have that kind of money to travel the world. Yes, it does take a lot of money to do that. And I live on a very fixed income, of course. I would be described as kind of a homebody. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. But yes, leaving the United States, I've got some friends from other countries. Sure do. One friend in particular from Europe, France in particular. We were having a conversation one day, and she was amazed at how little the average person in the U.S. has traveled outside of the country. Whereas in Europe, it's very, very, very common. There's a lot behind that too, obviously. Geography, the United States is quite a bit bigger, but there's a lot of different. It's also too the financial state. It's not as reachable, I don't think, for your average person. It's difficult. You don't have to go other countries too. You don't have to worry about generations of your family going into debt just because your uncle got cancer. You know what I mean? That's a real thing here too. So back to the when we were talking about the financial woes. But we're sitting at about 55 minutes right here. Eric, I thank you for participating in this live edition of Skip the Noise podcast, the Benji solo mission number, I don't know, 3 or 4. Here on Podbean, you'll meet, this is once again from Eric. Here on Podbean, you'll meet people outside of the United States like Hobo Chillin', Mr. Coley in India, Lingalonga in Australia. That sounds cool. I don't know what that is, but I'll find out. I sure will. Tuddles and Glenn in Canada, Marcos in Brazil, Cracks in Sweden, Dr. Love in Jamaica, and a few other international friends. Yeah, Podbean is very international. I have noticed that a lot when I was doing more live shows and getting a lot more call-ins and participation. Oh, Eric wants to call in. Let's take this. Let's take it. Wait, what happened? Here we go. Hold on. There he is.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine, sir. Welcome.
Well, I mean, you've had a great show this evening, but it's already almost 12:30 in the morning for me.
I know it's late for me too. It's 11:30, and I have to get up, get kids ready for the bus, and work, and then do a bunch of other shit too. So yeah, I am kind of wrapping it up. But I appreciate you calling in. What's on your mind? What you got for me on the vocals?
Well, I know you've had a really good show this evening. I guess I've, for the most part, been the only listener interacting with you.
Yeah, which is fine. One's better than zero, although I can do zero too. Because it's at the end of the day, honestly, this is gonna serve as a episode podcast. So regardless, I was gonna put it out. But yeah, your participation has been very welcome, and it was great to learn a little bit about you. I will say, I'm very excited about all these the names you dropped and all these different shows that not only myself but Skip the Noise listeners can check out on their own. And it sounds like too you're kind of
Uh-huh.
into similar things, what's going on in the world, and you've got a little, you're not necessarily
I mean,
satisfied with the what we're being fed. I like people thinking for themselves.
well, I think being an independent thinker is a great thing. I mean, I've not been much of a TV watcher for a little over 2 years now, which I mean, I would probably be feeling much better because I know if you turn on TV nowadays, a lot of the shows you get inundated with are just unwatchable.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's garbage mostly, but you got to be careful
Hmm.
too with. So there's a with TV. It's interesting, right? There's a lot of garbage on TV, and it's a lot of the whole nature of how people consume media has changed on its head just in the last oh fuck I mean whatever kind of spectrum you look at it, let's just say in the last 10 years, but shit, you could even make an argument for the last
Or
5 or
20
2
for that
years.
matter.
20, it's a whole different thing, completely different thing. So yeah, it just depends on kind of what scope
'Cause-
you want to look at it through. But my point was that yeah, well, so for example, right, flashback to me as a 15-year-old flipping through the remote, I'm just subjected to whatever the fuck is on there, and I can just like turn it off. Whereas now we've got these little pocket devices that we're
Well,
checking every 5 minutes and getting little updates. It's more, it's a little more sinister, and it takes a little more
hmm
understanding of how your brain is taking these things in to be able to effectively manage it. And I think it sped up so fast that culture didn't get a chance to catch up, right? And I think we're reaping, or we're the
well,
consequences of that are upon us big time. That if you could sum up the last 20 years,
well,
I think it would be that.
well. I
What do you
know when
think?
I was growing up,
Do
I
you agree with
remember a
me?
time when I would be in agreement, but I remember a time like when when possessing like cell phone devices like I'm talking to you on, you know, didn't even exist, and
Yeah.
and even a time when we didn't have the World Wide Web. You
Mm-hmm.
know, you know, 'cause, I like growing up there were like certain shows that I really thoroughly enjoyed watching and thought they were really very well put together, but and it's like you don't see shows like Alf or the Brady Bunch or um Highway to Heaven or Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman Touched by an Angel or Leave It to Beaver on TV anymore or newer shows attempting to emulate them.
Yeah, dude, solid,
But because and
solid
there was
list, by the way.
well because there was a time like in the in television and film you know you know sponsors and media executives were like we are not in the business of selling the LGBTQ culture. We're not in the business of selling divorce
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
infidelity. We're not in the business of selling like racial diversity, living in peace and harmony. But nowadays, it's like we're not in the business of selling political incorrectness. We're not in the business of selling wholesome Christian family values. It's almost like what they were for back then is that they've labeled it as taboo now, and what was taboo back then, um, it's like you're being forced to embrace it or else.
Yeah, no, it's true, and I would say also, or I would add to that. Yeah, what you're saying is true, and also too, though, and I think that's part of the response, or the response to that is what led to this very extreme, or the growth of an extreme element within the
hmm
conservatives, right?
Usually, it's the well, you
Because
have
that's
like a vocal
yep,
minority that usually
yeah,
speaks and hollers the loudest, rendering the peaceful
for sure.
majority irrelevant.
And I think that but I think that's similar to the media's stranglehold on being the political correct police, because I think that it
hmm
happens to be that they are sort of a, or at least the ones making the moves and calling the
Um,
shots are of a very
right.
specific viewpoint, right?
hmm
And it just so happens
You
that
know,
that group of people controls the output of entertainment to the whole fucking
well,
country.
Well, and there were even like legendary names, like if you remember like growing up watching soap operas, or remember your mom or your grandmothers or great grandmothers ever watching those like shows like As the World Turns, Guiding Light, Days of Our Lives, Search for Tomorrow, The Young and the Restless, One Life to Live, and
Mm-hmm.
All My Children. You had legendary people like Erna Phillips and Bill Bell and Douglas Marland and Agnes Nixon who were really pioneers, and I know they would focus their stories on like the human psyche and also incorporating socially relevant and substantive issues like in their storylines, and in writing them they didn't just write them on a whim. They brought in outside entities, you know, for research purposes in order for it to be a very thoughtful story. And um and and the resistance they ran into is like sponsors and media entities, and we see it today. They want to control things down to the microcosm, and they're just terribly regressive. And and that it's like they want to control the content, what we can and can't see and hear.
Yeah, they are, and To a degree, though, they've
And
always
we need
been.
more people like us who aren't afraid to push back.
Yeah, and that's the only difference is now that, um, with all that being said, how oppressive the information controllers can be, it is even more important for people to get on, to purchase. It's not the getting into a podcast doesn't cost a whole lot of money if you do it smart. And there's some people that get their whole setups and blah blah blah. Skip the Noise was never really interested in that. That's why we don't have any video component. I know everybody wants to see. Everybody wants to take a good
Well,
good look at Benji, but we're an audio only situation because of that. If we
well,
wanted to keep it going, I don't want a lot of barriers in between ourselves and the audience, albeit
uh-huh.
financial. Welcome, Margaret joined the live studio as well. Thank you for joining the show, Margaret. Please feel free to
Well,
chat or even call in if you so choose. Go ahead, Eric. I'm sorry. I keep
well,
cutting you
and
off,
I
but
would, I it's all right. I think probably like with like video podcasts, like I would imagine that might be something that you could explore maybe at a later date, or if or if you really have like growing demand for it or financial resources at your disposal, like to where you can multicast on entities like Facebook, YouTube,
mm-hmm.
Twitch, Indeed Live, and Rumble. But but with YouTube and Facebook being bad about wanting to censor certain content,
Yeah,
your best bet would probably be like Rumble or Twitch, Indeed Live,
yeah, and I don't know
because you're bound
how
to,
much.
and you're bound to grow your audience that way too.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure.
That's
For me though, it's more of a the conversation is the simplicity and effectiveness, and I'm somebody
true.
who's all about getting to the point of the matter in the most efficient way possible. So for us to get out the content, basically what I'm trying to do is the brains. I'm a fairly intelligent person. I am not, however, as
Well,
smart as my two co-hosts now, borderline geniuses, Mexican Nostradamus and Brown Python. They'll be humble and be like, no, no, bullshit. Those are some heavy hitters when it comes to
uh,
the intellect. So that being said, the quickest
well,
way to get
well,
that
well,
information to the public, I don't have. In other words, I do a little whatever. If you want to peek inside and get a little behind the curtains, I'll do a little social media here and there. But as far as the show, I like it being a nice, tight,
hmm
to the point type of an experience.
right.
You know what I mean?
Well, 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 and I think with you being like the lead host of the Skip the Noise podcast, I know that, but basically you've got to be the captain of the ship, and you've got to be able to steer the course and do it right.
Correct. Yeah, just like you would any entity, whether it was a show
Or if you were in a leadership position
sure.
in general.
Yeah. No. Exactly. Absolutely. Um, I will say this. I think it's getting a little late, and I appreciate you
Well, I
so much.
mean,
Yeah.
it,
No.
it
Go
was
ahead.
really good talking to you this evening, but I will gladly like plug some of these shows, and I will send you the links through Podbean to where friends can like download previously published episodes, and uh, and download the Podbean map to where if they're able to, they could jump into like live shows at any time and interact and maybe even call in if
Hell
that's
yeah.
okay.
Hell yeah. Please, please, and I
Yeah,
appreciate you giving some other people some love on the show as well. I'm all for
exactly.
that, especially independent
And
podcasters.
you're
Yeah,
mhm.
anybody. Let me say
Your
this
name
real
is
quick
Ben,
to
right?
the correct. I go on the show. I go by Benji. Mexican Nostradamus
Yeah,
is also
Benji.
Ben. He's Benito. I'm Benjamin. For the sake of this show, and it's kind of a work nickname as
Exactly.
well. So I refer to myself in the skip the noise capacity. Let's just say as Benji.
Exactly.
Uh,
And I would certainly
but
remind friends of the Skip the Noise podcast, if you enjoy Benji and the gang and the content they bring to you, that they would like to kindly encourage you to, wherever you're downloading this podcast from, whether it's here on Podbean or if you're listening to it on Spotify, Apple iTunes, Google Play, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, or Pandora, or any of those other places, hit that follow or subscribe button and keep coming back.
mm,
And some great podcast friends we're checking out that Benji and the gang would encourage you to check out and support names like the Ralph William podcast. He can usually be found mornings on Podbean, and hopefully he's coming back soon with some all new episodes. And you can also look for the Epic Strategies Network, WESN. You've also got the Old Man's podcast show weekdays at 10 a.m. Eastern Time.
Big
Mondays
up.
we feature Shonda. Tuesdays and Thursdays we feature Russ from Outside of Normal. You've also got Sarge with the Gray Area podcast, and you've also got the Dina Joe podcast Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 9:45 a.m. Eastern Time. And you've also got TalkNet Live with John Gale, Flicks and Friends with John Gale, and Scooter from the Beans and Weenie Show. And then if you're into some good comedy, you've got the Beans and Weenie Show every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Fridays, Club Code Blue with Spanky, like Fridays at 10 p.m. Eastern. And then you've also got the John DeVito Show, and you've also got you know Maverick and Goose with Slack Ready 2 Alpha Wednesday evenings at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. You've also got Jester with the It's Doomsday podcast Monday evenings at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. The Big Daddy Owl podcast Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays at 9 p.m. Eastern. You've also got the Potluck podcast, another great comedy show, Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern. And then you've got Chuck and Billy's Not Your Cup of Tea, hopefully coming back in the fall. And This Swap Doesn't Lie with Felix, Friday evenings at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. The Slightly Serious Show, weeknights at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And that rests with the Outside of Normal, 7 nights a week around 10 p.m. Eastern Time. So some great shows. And for people with an opposing point of view, you've got Solid Blue Sister with her My Turn to Talk, and then music podcasts like Linga Longa and Asha with Man Cave Sound, the Low Standards Employers with El Carpe and the Gang, and so many more friends worth naming off that. But due to time constraints, we can't name everybody, but these
For
people know
sure.
who they are, and we can honestly say you guys are the best.
And Pink Squirrel. Thanks for joining, Pink
Pink
Squirrel.
Squirrel, she's another one.
Eric, that was
Laura with
very
the
well.
communication
That,
station. Let's not forget about her.
that's right, Eric. I gotta say that was very well done. You rattled off quite a few shows. All I will ask is now you are officially part of the Skip the Noise family because you've been on an episode. So I will ask next time you get on a podcast or you join in, you call in live,
I do
drop
plan
my name
on
too.
letting people know
Benji,
about you,
Benji and the boy,
and I will
Benji and the
include you.
STN boy. I appreciate it, man. We would
Yep,
much appreciate that
I will be
down.
sure to acknowledge you on the Old Man's podcast show plugs, and I'm sure the Old Man would be honored to check out y'all's show and what y'all have to offer, and then
Hell
additional
yeah,
names like the Amber Maid show,
from
like on
from the great
Rumble
state of
and other
Texas,
places.
man. Everybody in the damn country wants to move to Texas, so we provide. We're the brand. We're the squawk box, man. We're the cultural entry point for people to come down here because everybody's doing it. Pink Squirrel, love it.
Hmm.
Welcome to Podbean. Yeah, truth of the matter, Pink Squirrel. Um, I've been on Podbean for quite a while. Haven't done the live. It's so much fun. I'm going to do more of it recently. When we first got on, I kind of did a little bit more of it. Had a bunch of live shows. We do put out a weekly podcast. I've been doing so for a couple years. But yeah, like I said, I got to cut it up a little bit with Eric. It is an addiction. So yeah, a lot of the names that I was
Well,
associated with before have kind of drifted off, and there's some new blood in the mix. But it's been fun. Pink Squirrel, real quick.
well,
You got anything to shout out? And I'm assuming you two know each other,
well.
Eric. Yeah.
I know who she is. She lives in Pennsylvania. I mean, and Pink Squirrel, she's good
Okay. Well,
people.
she's good people. She's Pennsylvania, good Pennsylvania people. I don't know much about
Hmm.
Pennsylvania. Pink Squirrel. What's going on in What part of Pennsylvania? Have you ever been to Texas, Pink Squirrel? I'm gonna ask you. I'm gonna rattle off a bunch of questions and let you catch up. While I just you're easy going. It's a good thing to be, but not too easy going. Don't let them walk over you, Pink Squirrel. I'm sure you've got a beautiful soul and a very big heart. Just don't let them take advantage, right, Eric? You know what I mean?
True.
Let that love shine,
But
but don't
we're
be
only about 15 minutes to the top
get
of the
those.
hour.
Yeah, 15 minutes till the top of the hour. That is correct. Probably about to.
And you've already run for a little over an hour now.
I have, man. He's looking. Look at Eric. Eric, come on every now and again, man. When I'm doing the live, yeah. Hey, so Pink Squirrel, we were kind of wrapping up. To be honest with you, we talked about. We did a little. So California put a billboard up saying, "Don't move to Texas." You know, fuck Texas. There's a lot of people getting shot everywhere, like Uvalde or something. I don't remember the exact billboard, but it was maybe a little bit before taste. We also talked a little bit about Hunter Biden and the it's late. the influence of the FBI in politics, right? I.e., holding off on the Hunter Biden laptop investigation, things like that. We talked a little Spirit Airlines. What else did we talk about, Eric? Help her out, Pink Squirrel.
Well,
Hey,
we acknowledge the passing of former Soviet President Mikhail Gorbachev.
we sure did. We sure did. Rest in peace to
And
him.
I know you and I had a conversation about how like podcasts have been like growing in popularity and how
That's correct.
corporate media entities are like losing their influence and
They
desperate
absolutely.
to try to keep it together.
Yeah, and they've just changed. They are losing their influence, but it's shifted over to different players, right? There's the Facebooks, the
Better late than
TikTok,
never, Pink.
the Googles. Yeah, hey Pink Squirrel, I am sorry you came in late too, because like I said, I am just kind of. I'll go a few more minutes since you got in here. But hey, Pink Squirrel, follow Skip the Noise podcast on Podbean. I'll follow you back. Also follow us on Instagram if you're in those realms. It's at skip underscore the underscore noise underscore podcast. Thank you for liking the show. Also Twitter at skip the noise PO1. We're also on TikTok. Got to be honest with you, I don't know exactly what the handle is, but if you search Skip the Noise podcast on Twitter, I'm pretty sure it'll come up. Follow me there. I've been a little vacant on the social media. Eric, I got to tell you, I do a lot of shit. I got a lot of kids. I work a lot of
Right.
hours just for my regular job. I also do a lot of things on the side. I'm also a podcast host. You know what I'm saying? Been doing a podcast weekly for 2 years. It's not always the family's not always happy about it, but I make sacrifices to get the information out to the populace because I love the
Right.
American. I
I'm
love
gonna
the.
drop my social media handles.
Please skip the noise. Nice, Pink Squirrel. I love it. I like your energy, Pink Squirrel. Even though you're not talking verbally, I like the chat. I think we'll keep you around, Pink Squirrel. Exchange follows. Try to find us on social media. We'll probably jump on. I'll do more of these live things. Boom, boom, boom. So, Eric, since you were such a willing participant, I will go ahead and rattle off all your socials on here. So, your Twitter at EK underscore ATL 8403. Boom. Instagram at Eric, ERICKIRK 60. You can find my man Eric on TikTok at Eric with a CKIRK 25. He's got a Discord. Eric, you're all over the place, my man. Once again, EKIRK 8403, pound sign 5260. Facebook, Eric with just, hold on, let me spell this one. At Eric, ERIC period KIRK period 1800. But yeah, man. I think we'll wrap it up, brother. Thank you for participating. Thank you for calling in.
Well, it's
Thank you.
great talking to
Thank you for
you,
chatting. Great
and
to talk to you too.
good night and have a pleasant tomorrow.
You do exactly the same. And with that, I think we'll wrap up this episode 115 of the Skip the Noise podcast. Like I said before, we will put out a regular episode. Think of this as a bonus. Okay, I'll label it as such. But episode 116 will be coming out later this week. Make sure you follow us on all the social medias. Make sure you go to Good Pods, great independent podcast app. Go ahead and download that on your device. It's all up in your face all day. And make sure you leave us a tip, right? It doesn't take much. But if a bunch of people just leave us a little bit, it'll really help the show because the show is not free to do. I've minimized the cost effectively because that's what I do, but it's
Hmm.
not free. And I want to keep doing it. So, Podcast Overlord, that's a good, Eric just dropped that recommendation for anybody interested. I'm rambling on.
If your podcast is stuck in a Twitter fog, Podcast Overlord can help, get your name out there if you're interested in seeing what their services can do for you.
Absolutely. Well said, sir. And with that, we will go ahead and shut down the show. Have a great week.
Later.
Yeah, see you in a couple of days. Skip Noise listeners. Bye.